It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
And that leads us to step 3, which is, if you think about the levels of wealth on the 5 levels of building that wealth, it's security.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3 is so important because I think this is where, Bo, the majority of our wealth management clients actually reside.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They are either coming out of that strategy phase, moving into the security phase, or they're in the security phase trying to figure out how they move into the next level of wealth. So I think a lot of financial mutants fall into this category. And so the question you may be asking is, how do I know if I'm there? What does this actually look like? Well, security is beginning to see the dividends of all of your past hard work. You're not a brand new saver. You're not someone who just came into the workforce. You're not someone who just started saving money, but you've been doing this long enough now. You're actually starting to see some of those decisions you made 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years ago begin to pay off. And you're looking around saying, man, things are starting to feel okay now. Things are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Well, when
now.
you get those monthly or quarterly investment statements and they actually are now replacing months and even potentially as it gets big enough, years worth of you working, that is showing you're reaching some critical mass. That's an important part of building security. I also like that you have that financial mutant muscle memory where the money is just kind of doing what it's supposed to. It's already got a plan. I mean, that's one of those things when we talk about a forced scarcity plan, what is that? How is that beyond budgeting? What that means is you have an automatic account builder on your accounts where you're building wealth because every time you get a paycheck on the 15th of the month or the 20th of the month, whatever you've decided, money is automatically going to all the different places. But then as you get pay raises, you're thinking about this in terms of what else should I do with this since it's already been automated. That's forced scarcity. You don't have to really focus on the budgeting where you're going, hey, did I spend too much on eating out? Did I spend too much on, my cell phone carrier? That stuff is taken care of when you reach this security phase.
And then another thing that security is it's knowing that you won't be derailed by the unknown unknowns. And this is what I mean by that. You're not quite at the independence point. You're not quite at the area where you have complete freedom. But you are at that place where you know what? If I were to lose my job, we're going to be okay. I'm going to be able to rebound. I'm going to be able to keep building. If we were to have a major thing happen at the house, if we were to have a major medical issue, if we were to have a sickness, yeah, it might slow us down. It might alter our path a touch, but it's not going to break us. We are now getting to the point to where whatever comes our way, because of the hard work we've put in, we know that we can address it head on and move through it and continue moving towards our ultimate financial goals.
But let's talk about what security is not, though. And this is a reoccurring theme, is that once again, it's not income and it's also not net worth based. And the reason I say this is I think a lot of people, when they think about financial goals, they'll say, man, once I have $700,000 of assets or net worth, I'm going to be in a better place.
I'm going to feel good.
Or once my income, once I cross $150,000 of income, man, life is going to be so much easier. That might be the case, but it might not be the case. We see a lot of people have great incomes. We even see people with, assets on their net worth statement. But if you look and reflect upon what this person makes versus what they have on the net worth statement, they're disconnected, meaning that there's not a healthy balance between what you make, what you spend, and what actually got created into the part you get to keep, which is net worth. That type of stuff is really taking shape in the security phase. They are connected with each other.
Now, this next one, I think we're going to catch a little bit of flack on because I think this is going to be a hot take on our end, but we feel like the security phase is often not available to most young folks. So we're defining young as being folks under 40 years old. Because remember, part of being in the security phase is that you know that you won't be derailed by the unknowns. Well, you may be someone who's 28 years old and you might have a 60% savings rate, and that's incredible, and you are moving in a great direction, but you probably haven't been doing it long enough to have that secure foundation in place. So often in our experience, it takes folks time to build up that foundation to actually be able to say, you know what? I'm in the security phase. I've been doing the hard work. I am where I ought to be at this stage of life.
Well, also, I think it goes beyond even that. I think for a lot of people under 40, you don't have all the components of your life completely tied down yet. Whether we're talking about marriages, whether we're talking about that final house with the primary mortgage debt on it. Kids, if you want to talk about it, when you go read the cautionary tales from people who are part of the FIRE movement, they retired in their 40s and then they didn't work out. It's because they didn't take into account how much life changes from the kids component. That's what it's not meant to derail you on if you're under 40 years of age. It's just saying, look, when you're 25 and 30 years of age, even if you're doing all things right, there's probably some variables that have not firmed up enough for you to set, this is what I'm going to do for the next 60 years that I'm on this planet. So just take that into account. It's a limitation, it's a humbling, but it's actually not a bad thing.
And then on the other side of it, it's important to remember that security is not financial freedom or financial abundance. Those steps still take time. Brian, you've already said this. Someone says, hey, if I make $150,000 of income, I'm great. Or if I cross $1 million portfolio, then I must be at the security phase. Yes, you might be at the security phase, but that might not be the financial freedom phase. That might be the, okay, I'm okay if something happens that I don't know. It's not that, hey, if something happens, I can stop working. My portfolio, my army of dollar bills is big enough to support me. Those are a different stage in security. And so it's important to understand realistically, am I actually at financial freedom or am I just still in the security phase?
I do want to close this point out with some positive thoughts, though, because this is something I want to give you guys some kudos when you know that this is working out in a good way, is that there's so much discipline and scarcity that goes into wealth building, because we talk about that deferred gratification. None of that sounds, I mean, when you're comparing that to YOLO, where you're living for the moment, you're like, what are we doing here? But I will tell you, this is what you are saving and investing from a young age, because when you reach security, the little things, the sweating the small stuff is starting to just melt away because you have an automated wealth building process. So now, when you go out to eat, you're not so stressed out about, hey, are we going to split the bill or are we just going to chop this bill in half? Or did that friend order a cocktail when I didn't? That stuff starts falling away. I don't want you to be panicked about that. You're also getting to where maybe you are doing a little bit nicer things on your vacations.
Yeah.
You're not now, maybe you get an adjoining room for the kids versus you piling everybody, 5 people into a room. There are some rewards for all of your discipline earlier when you get to step 3, which is security on your levels of wealth.
And what I love about the security phase is that you don't just have your plan A. I mean, plan A was what you were building and working on in the strategy phase, and the security, you're seeing that play out. But you've probably got some contingencies. Hey, if things work out a little bit differently, it's okay. I'm going to move in this direction. I'm going to move in that direction. The security phase is a great place to be able to check the box, say, you know what? Things are going to be okay. No matter if I go through door 1, door 2, or door 3, I can still move ultimately towards financial freedom and financial abundance.
And I've already alluded to this, but this is where the majority of our clients that come to our wealth management firm live. And what I like about this is that this is kind of, we're graduating that relationship to the next level, where we can help you optimize. This is so cool that you have the foundation and the basics covered. This is where you really try to make sure you have an understanding of what your blind spots are, what can you optimize to do better from a tax planning. This is really a fun planning stage here when you do reach the security level.
And so here are some signs that you're doing it right. The first is, now you're hitting some of those advanced stages of the financial order of operations. You're saving for future expenses like the kids' college or vacations or a second home or rental properties. You're actually moving into those advanced stages, and you can comfortably do so because you've already got your financial foundation built up.
And also, I think, because I resemble this, once you're over 45 and now it's not about, hey, I have to get every dollar because of 88 times over and the value of what it could become. Now you can start balancing the return with the risk, because people over 45, you might be paying down that debt. This is okay, even if it's a low interest mortgage payment, that you're paying it down because you want to be completely financially and debt free. You want to be financially independent and debt free by the time you cross that threshold of financial independence.
And then you may start to see some luxury in your life. You've already said, Brian, maybe it's nicer vacations, maybe it's spending a little bit more, maybe it's finally buying that Tesla, or finally putting in the pool, or flying first class, or whatever that thing may be for you. You can now do that guilt-free because you know you've checked all the other boxes elsewhere.
I'll pick up, because you sound a little bit like my mother-in-law. I thought you said Tesla.
Tesla.
Instead of Tesla.
You know them Teslers.
And
That's
then,
what
and I
saying.
want to tell you, we skipped a step there because when I talk about upgrading your flight, we're really talking about business class.
Oh, business class.
I'll
I said
tell you,
first
because
class.
if you go price out first class versus business class, you realize there is
might be
another level beyond business class. It's a pretty big. Business class is fold flat seats when you go across the pond. First class, I don't know what they do in first class. I've never bought those, but it's a whole nother level on the price point.